Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise, bring you the key insights from the latest research. And today, wow, we're diving into something that, well, it affects almost all of us, right? This constant push and pull between our digital lives and how we actually perform at work. I mean, have you ever found your mind just wandering off to social media when you know you should be focusing on a task?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know I have. And most of us, we probably think social media at work, pure distraction, simple as that. But what if I told you a new study suggests it's more complicated, that how you use it could actually maybe turn it into a tool for focus? Sounds a bit counterintuitive, I know, but we're going to dig into that very idea today. Our deep dive today is all about this really fascinating new study. It just came out, May 2025, in the International Journal of Human-Computer Interaction. It's called Preoccupation with Social Media and Employee Performance.
And you're right, this couldn't be more timely. I mean, social media use, it's truly global now. Just think about the scale. As of, October 2024? 5.52 billion internet users worldwide. That's huge. Yeah, like 67.5% of everyone on the planet. And this study specifically, it took place in Cherokee, and social media use there is just booming. By January 2022, you had 69 million users. That's over 80% of the population. Think WhatsApp, YouTube, Instagram. They're massive there.
80%. Okay, so understanding the impact there is crucial.
Exactly. It gives us a really relevant window into this issue.
So our mission today, we want to reveal how being preoccupied with social media genuinely affects your performance at work. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, we'll also discover how certain ways of using social media, maybe surprisingly, can help lessen those negative effects. And we're looking at this through the lens of healthcare professionals in Cherokee.
Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. Before we get into the findings, what exactly do these researchers mean by cognitive preoccupation with social media? Is it, just another name for addiction? That's a really good question to start with, because they are related, definitely, but the researchers see them as distinct. Cognitive preoccupation in this study is defined as a kind of stressor-related factual thinking. Basically, it means your mind just keeps looping back to social media, even when you're trying hard to focus on something else.
Okay, like a constant mental itch you need to scratch.
Sort of, yeah. And it's time-consuming, mentally draining, and often tied up with negative feelings. Now, while it can absolutely be a precursor to addiction, and it's seen as a risk factor, they're careful to say that's not exactly the same thing. It really describes that state where social networks become like the main thing on your mind, dominating thoughts, feelings, behavior, sometimes even leading people to cut back on actual face-to-face interactions.
That sounds like a serious drain on your focus, your mental energy. So what did this study actually find? Was the direct impact on job performance?
Well, the link was pretty clear, and not in a good way. They found a significant negative relationship. So the more preoccupied someone was with social media,
The worse their performance.
Yeah. Exactly. Their job performance tended to be lower. And this wasn't just a small dip. It was statistically significant.
Okay, so we can be pretty confident this is a real effect, not just chance.
Precisely. The data showed a clear negative effect, specifically B mil 1637, P 0.0005 for those interested in the stats.
Right.
And this is particularly worrying in a field like healthcare, which is where this study focused.
The stakes are so high.
Absolutely. Distractions there, they can lead to mistakes, they can potentially jeopardize patient safety, lower the quality of care. In fact, some previous research suggested that completely unrestricted social media use at work could cost nearly 9.5% of an employee's daily productivity.
Wow, almost a tenth of your workday just gone.
Yeah.
That's a staggering cost when you think about it like that. Really makes you reconsider those quick phone checks, doesn't it?
It does. But here's where, like you said, it gets really interesting. The study found that how you use social media can actually change things. Let's start with this task-oriented social media use. What's that about? Yes, this is where the nuance really comes into play. Task-oriented social media use, or TOSMU as they abbreviate it, it's basically when you're actively using social media for work-related stuff.
Okay, like what specifically?
Things like maybe using it to brainstorm new ideas, find creative solutions to a problem you're stuck on, build up your professional reputation online, or even just gathering advice from peers, maybe solving specific work problems through professional groups.
Gotcha. So using it as a tool, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And the study confirmed that this kind of use, TOSMU, actually has a direct positive effect on employee performance. The finding was B 0.2232, P or 0.000. So quite strong.
Wait, so using social media for work tasks can actually make you better at your job?
That's what the data suggests, yes. But here's the really fascinating part. Its moderating role.
Moderating. What do you mean by that?
Okay, think of that cognitive preoccupation we talked about as pulling your performance down, right?
Yeah, the negative drag.
Right. Well, task-oriented social media use acts like a buffer against that drag. It positively moderates that negative relationship. So the study found that as an employee's task-oriented social media use increases, the negative hit on their performance from being preoccupied actually decreases.
So it cancels it out, or at least lessens the blow.
It lessens the blow significantly. It acts as a protective factor. And interestingly, this buffering effect was particularly strong for people with low to medium levels of this task-oriented use.
Really? Not the super users.
Well, the effect was statistically significant for values below about 74% of task-oriented use. So you don't necessarily need to be on LinkedIn 24/7 for work. Even moderate, purposeful use seems to help counteract the downside of preoccupation. And this kind of fits with what we know from social cognitive theory, this idea that we can actively manage our behavior to get better results.
That's a massive shift in how we usually think about this. It's not just about banning it, but maybe about channeling it.
Precisely. But wait, there's more. There's another type of use that also helps. Relationship-oriented social media use, ROSMU.
All right, so not tasks, but relationships. What does that involve?
This is all about using social media to build and maintain your work-related connections and professional networks. Linking up with colleagues, maybe sharing useful information, getting a better sense of your coworkers, connecting with people in your field, building that professional community online.
Okay, makes sense. Networking, team bonding, that kind of thing.
Exactly. And just like the task-oriented use, this relationship-oriented use, ROSMU, also showed a direct positive link to performance. Again, statistically significant, B1.2358, P 0.00000.
So connecting with colleagues online is also good for your work output.
Apparently so. And crucially, it also acts as a buffer against that cognitive preoccupation.
So it moderates the negative effect too.
Yes, it positively moderates that negative relationship. The study found the interaction effect was B 0.1113, P 0.0078, meaning the negative impact of being preoccupied with social media gets weaker as your relationship-oriented use goes up.
So building those work connections online helps protect your focus in a way.
That's the idea. And again, this moderating effect was significant for people with low to moderate levels of this relationship-building activity, specifically below about 62.5% of relationship-oriented use. The researchers connect this to social capital theory. Basically, building these networks creates social capital trust, shared understanding, easier collaboration, which ultimately helps performance.
Wow. Okay, so the picture is much more complex than just social media bad for work.
Definitely.
So let's bring this down to earth. What does this all mean for you, the listener? Whether you're an employee just trying to stay focused, or maybe a manager trying to create a productive workplace.
I think the core takeaway is really powerful. Yes, being constantly preoccupied with social media does drag down your performance, that's clear. But, and it's a big but, using social media purposefully, whether that's for getting tasks done or for building work relationships, can actively push back against that negative effect.
It's about intention then.
Exactly. It's not just about limiting use. It might be more about redirecting that use into productive channels when you are engaging with it at work.
And what about for companies, for organizations? Are there lessons here?
Oh, absolutely. One striking finding from the study was that a huge majority of employees, about 80%, felt they needed clear social media policies at work.
80%.
Yeah. But the reality was most organizations didn't actually have them. So there's a big disconnect there, a real gap.
So step one is probably clearer guidelines.
That seems critical. The study also suggests organizations should think about providing training. Help employees recognize the signs, the symptoms, the consequences of problematic social media use, and maybe implementing some specific rules or even suggested timeframes for social media use during work hours could help people manage that cognitive preoccupation better.
Makes sense. Structure can help.
And finally, maybe even encouraging and rewarding the appropriate use of social media, showcasing people who use it well for work tasks or networking.
Like role models.
Exactly. Using those positive examples could be a really effective kind of early intervention strategy.
So again, it's not just about restriction. It's about transformation, shifting the focus. For you listening then, maybe this means being a bit more intentional, thinking about why you're picking up your phone during the workday rather than just that automatic scroll. So wrapping up our deep dive today, the main aha moment seems pretty clear. It's not just about how much time you spend mindlessly scrolling social media, though preoccupation is definitely bad. It's also about how you spend some of that time when you do engage. Even if you struggle with that mental pull towards social media, deliberately using it for specific work tasks or for building professional relationships can act as this kind of buffer. It can turn what feels like a performance drain into, well, potentially a productive tool.
Yeah, and the study's conclusion puts it really nicely, I think. It says, social media is both a dark and brilliant thing for human progress, which really just highlights how complex this is, right? These challenges, but also these opportunities, they exist everywhere across all kinds of jobs and cultures. It's universal.
A really good way to put it. So here's a final thought for you to chew on. Think about your own social media habits at work. Knowing what we've just discussed, what's one small adjustment you might make? Could you shift a bit more from just consuming content to maybe purposefully engaging for a work reason? Or maybe what conversations could you start in your own workplace about actually harnessing social media's positive side? Lots to think about there. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive.